So I have a confession to make. So I know this might come as a shock to a lot of you, but statistically and undeniably, I am what the kids call an old man. In these long 27 years I've been on Earth, I've seen a lot of things and done a lot of things. And because I didn't make a lot of friends in middle school, a lot of that time in the 27 years was spent on the internet. I was there for the Badger song. I was there for Homestar Runner. I was there for the cringiest of rage comics. If I started putting lay in front of sentences, you guys would have no clue what that means, but it used to be the peak of comedy. I remember when saying the word meme out loud at the high school lunch table made you a social pariah. That shit was not cool. Suddenly, internet things were cool in a mainstream way. And I was happy for that, because I could be myself without people making fun of me, except for one singular aspect. And this was the fact that, despite originally being verbal poison, the word anime slowly became one of the most well-respected art forms in the American hearts. That is hard for me. That is hard for me to wrap my head around. It's not like I don't like cartoons. I specifically love cartoons. I'm wearing a Gromit shirt right now. I only consume cartoons. That's my vibe. The guy who corners you at a house party and tells you that Smiling Friends is gonna change the face of adult animation. Something about anime, dude. It's just not clicking with me. Maybe it's because I was born in a post-9/11 society, and if it's not American, it's not good enough for me. And that's not correct. I love Lynch chocolate. And the last thing I want to do is yuck anyone's yum, okay? This isn't gonna be a point and laugh, make fun of the kid who buys a body pillow at a convention type video. I hope not. I kind of lose track during this script. But what I'm trying to do in this video is to preemptively defend myself against the heat I'm gonna get when people realize that I actually don't like whatever the hell this is. So my sweet little tuglets, please be gentle with me while I state my case that anime at the very least is a hard watch for somebody like me. Because maybe someone else out there is being bombarded by a sea of anime memes and enjoyers, and they just need someone to hold on to as the ship sinks, and you can hold on to me because I also don't understand what's going on anymore. And it's so crazy because I've said some wild stuff on this channel, but I'm so confident this is the video that's gonna push the fan base over the edge and start hating me. I've already bought the sheet, so I might as well make the bed, but fuck. So let's start with a brief history. In Japan, anime is just the word for animation. It's a lot of people don't understand that concept. It's just Japanese animation. The anime aesthetics Americans are most familiar with today was developed in the 1960s by Osamu Tezuka in his series Astro Boy. Although a lot of Americans don't know anything about the show, everyone can identify this little dude, and they might not know his name, but at least he has some staying power. Astro Boy was syndicated in the US on NBC from 1963 to 1965, and even though we didn't call it anime at the time, this was the entry point into American culture. When the VHS came along, important videos like Akira started getting cult classic status, paving the way for the explosion of anime on cable. It's also worth noting that in Akira, the Akira slide happens, and that piece of cinematography has been parodied or referenced about 1,000,000 times in every American animated show, so just thought that was worth mentioning. I don't like anime, but that's a cool fact. In 1997, Cartoon Network's Toonami programming block really fucking brought anime into the American mainstream, introducing young kids like me, but not me, to shows like Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, and Gundam Wing. And I know in a prior video I've already touched on this programming block, but it's hard to understate just how important Toonami was for the culture. Folks love to glaze on about the golden age of 2000s era television, when shows like The Sopranos, The Wire, Mad Men, and Breaking Bad elevated the form of television. But anime's introduction to Western mainstream culture did the same thing for young viewers. Instead of the fast-paced, ADD-inducing standalone episodes of shows like Ed, Edd and Eddy or the Powerpuff Girls, anime offered more in-depth storytelling and character development. You'd actually have to pay attention to figure out what the hell is going on. Even anime for younger audiences had continuity and richness that was not present in American cartoons. Whatever. And it seemed to inspire modern cartoons into having through lines like Adventure Time and Fiona and Cake. That was so goddamn good. Make more Fiona and Cake. But so much of the anime that was celebrated in the 90s and the early 2000s was kid-focused. For example, Pokemon was everywhere, is still everywhere. It basically took over the world of anime, video games, and tabletop gaming all at once. It honestly got to the point where I feel like a lot of people forget that Pokemon started as an anime itself. Most people think it's a video game or just a silly introduction to a gambling addict. And the success of Pokemon meant we were inundated with more potential profit drivers like Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And I don't remember Digimon at all, except for the opening lines of the theme song that go, Digimon, digital monsters, Digimon are the champion. That's all I remember from it, but that does mean I've seen it at least. Anyways, the market felt immediately oversaturated with this kind of shit. And at that young age, I was more interested in sneaking into the living room when my parents were watching TV and seeing things like South Park and The Simpsons. I wasn't interested in children cartoons, especially anime cartoons. So I didn't have the wherewithal to look out over the horizon and see all the anime that was flooding in. And my God, was it flooding in. Just because I didn't want it didn't mean Americans wanted to stop consuming it, because there is a fucking anime for every day of the year. Even though American marketing teams might spend their resources promoting merchandise-friendly kids shows, there are actually a ton of anime genres. Hard to know where to start. As someone who doesn't watch anime, this is a big barrier to entry. I was able to break anime down into 5 categories that correlate with its intended demographics. And once again, I want you to know that I didn't know anything about anime before this video, and I just had to do research so the video made sense. I do not give a shit about anime. I want to make that clear. Hey, you want to see something crazy? Type in your full legal name in Google and then after that, type the word address or phone number. And just peruse throughout all the public information that you did not realize was ripe for the picking from anyone with a half a brain cell. So that's a bummer, but who is behind this insane use of personal information for profit? Why, it's our old friends, data brokers, of course. They're these super awesome people who obtain your personal information as well as your friends and family and then put it up on a website and then sell that information for profit. And if you have a credit card, you can get this information. Stalker, doxer, people stealing your identity. Just the worst type of people doing the worst type of things. Why is this legal? I have no idea, but it is. Yippee. In order to combat this, you can go to each individual website, the hundreds of them, and see if they'll take your information down and then wait weeks for them to reply to you if they reply to you at all. Or you can do what I do and use Delete Me. I was using Delete Me before they even reached out to me, like even before I knew they had an advertising budget for YouTube. So when I got the call, I was like, yeah, sure. I mean, I'm already using you. I'll advertise you. As you can see, I've been using them for almost a year, and I am genuinely satisfied with the products that they deliver. Delete Me takes the laborious job of reaching out to each individual data broker with your personal information and does their best to scrape it off the internet. This gives you peace of mind from any of the creeps online that might want to harm you physically or financially because you had a bad take on Twitter. They give you several reports throughout the year saying, hey, look at all the stuff we took off the internet about you. And if you find something on the internet that you want taken down, they also have a service where you just say, here's the website, figure it out, and they do it for you. They work tirelessly over several months to get things done, and they don't stop working because also data brokers don't stop working, and they gotta be ahead of the curve all the time. So head to joindeleteme.com/BigTug and also use promo code BigTug for 20% off US consumer plans, and you get to see what Delete Me might have to offer for you. Delete Me, deleting another reason to hate the internet. First we got Komodo, which is for real young viewers, like generally under 12 years old. And then we got Shonen Animes, which is aimed at teenage boys with shows like Dragon Ball Z, like that kind of anime. And Shonens have a counterpart called Shoujo, which is aimed at teenage girls with shows like Sailor Moon. And then we have Seinen and Josie, I'm trying here. They're aimed at adult men and women respectively. But then you have like the genre of the show itself. You have the mech shows, which are like giant robot shows where people climb into giant robots and fight things. A category of anime which shocks me because how many stories can you write about climbing into robots and fighting people? I feel like that well would run dry. Oh my god, is Attack on Titan a mecha anime? Oh my god, that makes sense. Oh, I guess there's a lot of avenues they can go down with that. I've watched one anime and it's Attack on Titan. I want to make that clear. It's the only one I've ever watched. My roommate made me watch it. It was pretty good, but whatever. Then we have Spokon, specifically sport-focused anime. It's usually like a comedy coming-of-age story, like high schoolers playing volleyball. A lot of volleyball going on in Japan. I didn't know about that. And then there's hyper-specific genres, like this one, Isekai. And this is when characters die and then they are reincarnated into another world. And once again, that seems like a one-off plot, but there's so many of these motherfuckers and they keep making stories about people dying. These genres can blend into one another, they can parody themselves. It gets really blurred after a while, which leads to animes making fun of animes themselves, like JoJo Bizarre Circus and whatever the fucking One Punch Man. At least that's what I think is happening in those shows. JoJo is a fucking clusterfuck to watch. It is a assault on my senses. And then when a show is defined by its respective genre, we have the much bigger issue of the fact that a lot of these shows never end. They keep going. There's 1 million episodes per show. You know how like The Simpsons is still running, despite the fact that we all wished it ended after the Simpsons movie? Well, a lot of the best animes become long-running series to little to no critical outcry. Toonami may have introduced Gundam Wing to the American audiences, but the Gundam franchise has been around since 1979 and has spawned over 50 different TV shows. How? How are they doing that? And that's nothing compared to the slice-of-life show Sasasan. Originally a comic strip, the anime has been on TV in Japan since 1969. It's the longest-running animated TV series in the world, featuring over 8,000 episodes. And apparently it's like a weird blend of the Peanuts and Doctor Who. I don't know. I tried to watch one episode and I had no clue what was going on. And then you have a show like One Piece, which is a meme in itself for how fucking long that show is. So many people have told me I need to watch One Piece, and not only that, they tell me I have to watch the first 30 episodes before it gets interesting. What? Hey, let me give you a quick note to all One Piece fans. If I have to watch 30 episodes of a show before it gets good, that kind of means it's a bad show. People are gonna get pissed. That is a fucking ridiculous request. Sometimes it feels like the only way to get into anime is to make it the biggest part of your personality. Because for fuck's sake, where are you guys finding all this time? Between Rocket League and anxiety-inducing Wikipedia rabbit holes, I do not have time to catch up on Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, Dragon Ball Z Kai, Dragon Ball Super, Super Dragon Ball Heroes, and Dragon Ball Daikai, or whatever the fuck that last one is. Dragon Ball Route 34. I don't have time to catch up on this shit. And it's not just a problem with anime. I mean, like I said, The Simpsons, and like we have, you know, Law and Order, which has been going on forever. But with those shows, you don't have to focus up. It's the same shit every week. You tune in, nothing changes. You don't have to look up the plot of the show, what happened in the 80s, to really understand what's happening nowadays. And I'll be honest, I've thought about jumping into anime several times. I'm not above this. Seems like I'm missing out on a whole category of media that seems super fun and people are very passionate about. And then I'll ask a friend, hey, which anime should I start with? And God forbid they say something coherent. They'll give you a list of 20 shows that are worth watching. Half of them only have one season after 20 years, and the other half have 90 seasons, and you have to watch all the episodes to understand what's going on. Then you open up Crunchyroll, and on the main page, there's more animes on there than grains of sand at the beach. It's all just mentally taxing. It's a mentally taxing form of media. Oh, and speaking of mentally taxing, let's talk about the mental tax of horny shit being on my TV screen when my mom walks in the room. Now, I'm not talking about a word that my editor might need to bleep because I don't know how YouTube feels about me using that word. But when it comes to anime, the line between drawn porn and animated television is extremely blurry. Horny anime is a world unto itself. It might need a deeper video at one point. But anime is full of hyper-sexualized characters to an unbelievably uncomfortable extent. We're not talking tastefully sexy. The word tasteful has never been a before the war fan service. And it becomes incredibly problematic when you find out that the majority of these girl characters dance around with half their clothes on are 16 years old. They're all teenagers, and I don't know why we're not fucking talking about that. Oh, it's a different culture, Tucker. You just don't understand it, yada, yada, yada. Okay, how about if I said the word lolly? You got an argument for that, pimp? You gonna defend that? Because that's a real thing that shows up in anime sometimes without reason or warning. But it seems like giving an audience what they want sexually without warning is a big part of anime. And that little expression of gratitude towards the audience is known as fan service, if I haven't made that clear enough. Basically, fan service is like halfway through the last season of Breaking Bad, suddenly Skylar was wearing a bikini all the time. It makes very little sense, but the fans like it. Fan service does not drive the plot forward, it's just eye candy for the audience. And I'm not judging people wanking it to drawings, but you know. But somehow, fan service isn't even the most pervy part of anime. Like the show, I want you to make a disgusted face and show me your underwear. A real title, a real anime. We can go on Crunchyroll and fucking watch it. Of course, panties aren't the only weird fetish that animes deal with. In My Life as Inuka-san's Dog, the protagonist wakes up as a dog and is rescued by his crush. And for the rest of the series, he is simultaneously humiliated while being treated like a dog, while also being super turned on because he's hanging out with his crush. And for some reason, people don't blink an eye at this shit. They just let it pass. And then there's this show called Food Wars, Shiguk, whatever, which is about students at an elite culinary school that face off for cooking competitions. That sounds innocent enough, right? No, but every time they eat the food, they have orgasms. All of them had foodgasms. Look at this screenshot. What the fuck is going on? And I know I'm cherry picking here. These are pretty extreme examples, okay? I understand what I'm doing. But there's definitely little aspects of all this pervy shit sprinkled into anime. Every anime you see, they just fucking, every once in a while an episode, you just see tits. And I don't appreciate that. When I'm trying to watch anime for the first time and I'm watching just a normal scene and all of a sudden boobs are out and anime girls are moaning, my mom, doesn't matter where she is in the country, will walk into my room at that moment, and then the cycle continues because I can't watch anime anymore. Stop putting horny things in anime, for the love of Christ. And then there's the whole issue of anime being in a different language, which I should have started with that. That's a pretty big barrier to entry. Just like any niche interest, anime fans have some sort of infighting. And one of the biggest controversies in the community is sub versus dub debate, which like most niche debates is complicated and has no real correct answer, but yields deeply passionate opinions that spill over into strong hate for the other team. Kind of like GIF versus GIF, and it is GIF. We're not gonna fight about this. I don't care what the creator of the file format said, he's a fucking idiot. But when it comes to the sub versus dub debate, there seems to be a little bit more merit on each side of the argument. Subtitled anime usually features translations that are more accurate to the original dialogue, and they're easier to produce, so you can stay on top of shows that are being released. But they can be distracting and take your focus away from the action because you're reading a book the entire time. I mean, I can't handle that. Even when I'm watching an American show, like if the subtitles are on, I just miss everything because I just end up watching the words go by. And on the dubbing side, English voice actors dub over the entire episode so you can really fully enjoy what you're watching, and you don't have to look away for a minute and fear that you're going to be missing pivotal exposition in the words on the screen. However, most American voice actors record their lines separately in different recording booths, whereas Japanese voice actors often record in the same room, which means that the original actors tend to give more cohesive, emotionally resonant performances, compared to the English voice acting, which I think we can all agree has an off vibe to it. However, I do want to note that I feel like the people who prefer sub over dub is for one very specific reason, and that reason is when you hear the Japanese dialogue in English, you realize how fucking unbelievably corny the dialogue is. I'm gonna talk about Attack on Titan once again because it's the only anime I've ever seen. But there's this scene where they're all in a castle and they're fighting a Titan, and a girl does something cool and Reiner looks at her and under his breath he goes, "Marry me." What the fuck is that? I understand it's probably a translation thing, but that was so out of left field it took me out of the entire scene. The main issue, the main barrier to entry to anime that I have is the anime noises. What is that? Why are they all making those weird noises? Every time they swing their sword, every time they make eye contact with their crush, they let out a little what the fuck is that? I mean, it makes sense when fucking Link from Legend of Zelda is doing it. He doesn't talk, so he has to communicate through grunts. But why are these anime characters constantly making lobotomy-esque sounds with their mouths? It is confusing and distracting from what I'm trying to watch. And finally, for the last point in this video, I wanted to discuss the fact that anime is addictive. I've lost some pretty important people in my life to anime. Take, for example, my best friend, my soulmate, my roommate for 8 years, Connor Whitman. Connor was an A+ athlete all throughout high school, a strong athlete, and a straight arrow until I showed him what alcohol and weed was. He had such a bright future ahead of him until he discovered anime. The path anime takes to destroy your life is eerily similar to how hard drugs takes over your world. First, you start with an entry-level drug, like Cowboy Bebop or Death Note. Sure, there's definitely some strange cultural differences, but the plot is simple enough and the characters are engaging, so you enjoy the show. Then once you finish that one, you might as well look around at the other animes, because that seems to be a pretty enjoyable format of media. Then you start watching that one. And then at the same time, why not watch 2 at once? Now you're watching 2. Now you're watching 3 at once. You start missing out on American media because you don't have time in your schedule. There's no time slots open. It's all anime focused. Then you're watching 8 animes at once. Then you're buying merch. Then you're getting a fucking body pillow at a convention. Then you're reading pirated mangas on the internet because you don't want to wait for the next episode come out, so you just read the fucking book it's based off of. Then you're cosplaying. Then you're jerking off to some weird shit. Then you're isolating yourself from the conventional means of a civilized society, and you lose your way. I miss Connor so much. And he's gone! In the throes of anime addiction, I've lost one of my best friends. I'm gonna play the finals with him tonight, probably, but it's not gonna be him. It's gonna be a shell of what anime has left for me. A fucking weeb!
Fucking weebs.
And for that reason, and all the other reasons I've given in this video, I'm out on anime. It's not worth it. Who knows? One day I might get over my childish fear of being bullied for enjoying an anime show. Maybe I'll sit down with a bucket of popcorn, turn on a slice of life anime like Shiko Noko 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 Kosh Ton Ton, and enjoy myself. That is until one of the Japanese anime schoolgirls walks in wearing a bikini, and then my mom walks in the room and it fucking ruins everything once again. Like, comment, and subscribe. New videos every Wednesday and Saturday. Hey, Attack on Titan people, thank you for stretching out that show for so long where I didn't give a fuck about the ending at that point. Fucking release everything. You ruined it. I didn't care anymore. I didn't care.